A carrot isn't an inherent good food, while chocolate is an inherent bad food. Food is just food, no matter how many calories, carbs, sugars, whatever is in it. Unless you have life threatening allergies or dietary restrictions to follow, you should feel free to eat whatever food you want to without beating yourself up about it.
Carrots are not inherently good food, while chocolate is not an inherently bad food, she says while animating a black kid with diabetes eating a s'more, which, by the way, is junk food. It is bad for you. So the popular animation YouTube channel Illymation created this video called The Perks of Being a Fat Kid, which was pretty well received. It has over 1 million views, over 100,000 likes, a lot of very positive comments. However, when you go to the newest comments, you will find some less positive comments, and we will discuss why that is shortly. Alyssa makes some good points that I agree with. For example, yeah, I don't think that overweight children should be overly sexualized. She talks about school dress code violations and how that came down a lot harder on overweight children. And I do think that there should be more options when it comes to plus size clothing.
While a v-neck top on a skinny girl would be praised for being fashionable, the same v-neck top on me would lead to the school shirt of shame with the side of, next time, leave something for the imagination. And so, the only clothes you're left with and conditioned to choose so you don't get in trouble or have to endure unwanted attention from creepy older men are things that hide your body and amplify the shame of even rolling up your sleeves.
Big thing of all that I agree with is that even if it is unhealthy to be overweight, you should not bully people because they are overweight. I mean, you shouldn't bully people at all in general.
Oh, great. Now she's glorifying obesity. I'm not glorifying anything. My point is simple. Don't be a dick to fat people. And don't use, "I just care about their health," as an excuse.
But I believe that you can make that point that, oh, hey, even if somebody is unhealthy, you still shouldn't bully them because that's not how you show concern for their health. You can have that opinion without downplaying the risks of obesity, without downplaying the risks of junk food, without saying carrots and chocolate are somehow on the same level. That I do not understand. There's also that point about colonialism that was kind of weird.
It's rooted in the very colonial belief that every individual has full control and responsibility over their health.
She mentions her history with dieting.
I started dieting at the age of 11. I looked over at whatever Weight Watching, Jennifer Craig, Fitnessing Pal, MLM, Facebook scam my parents were up to, and I copied them.
I do believe that diet culture is a problem in that bullying can lead to shame-based dieting that has absolutely nothing to do with wanting to be healthy, only with wanting to fit in. But then she follows that up with a statistic that doesn't really support her argument.
Which unfortunately is really common for school kids. According to the National Library of Medicine, about 1/2 of teenage girls and 1/4 of teenage boys have tried dieting to change the shape of their body.
Changing your diet, I don't think is inherently wrong or bad. It doesn't mean that they are changing their diets based purely on shame. Some of those diet changes can be good.
And of those girls, more than 1 out of 3 were actually at a healthy weight to begin with. And these numbers are wild to me.
But then that means that 2/3 of them aren't. So then wouldn't it make sense for them to want to change their diets? I think that's fine as long as it is a positive lifestyle change. But I would think that if you want to make your point that diet culture is this awful, pervasive thing, then you should talk about how those diets are unhealthy, bring in more statistics about the nature of these diets and why they are bad and why we should steer away from them. So anyway, even though the main point about don't be an asshole to fat people is something that I agree with, there's definitely some points that I did not agree with. that a lot of people found pretty controversial. So it should come as no surprise that somebody decided to make a response video. Think Before You Sleep. Now, Think Before You Sleep is very popular. He has hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and his video got hundreds of thousands of views. Not as many views as Alyssa got, and not as many likes as Alyssa got. Alyssa got about like 3 times those likes on her videos. So again, hers was more popular and more well received. But let's ask the question, did this response video cross the line from criticism to bullying?
Alyssa posted this on Tumblr. Of course it was Tumblr. The comment thread starts out with the post saying, "Did you see this total creep who did a takedown of your fat kid animation?" Alyssa responds to it by saying, "Yes, frowny face. I didn't watch it. A friend did though, and gave me a rundown. I advise others to not watch the video or his channel either. Do not engage."
In my Fat Acceptance cringe video, I talked about some of my issues with cringe. One of my issues being when somebody makes a response video to somebody way less popular. Like, also, if you chop up what they say out of context, that's also a big problem, especially if there's that discrepancy in describer count, because even if the other person were to come forward and say, oh, hey, I actually said X, Y, and Z, not da-da-da-da, then they can't really add that context to that many people. So, for example, Anita Sarkeesian was briefly mentioned in Think Before You Sleep's video. 12 years ago, I remember when they made like a video game where they animated like beating her up, and then there were a lot of response videos that got a lot more views than her original videos, and they took a lot of what she said out of context. In this situation, I did not think that Think Before You Sleep was guilty of that. He didn't seem overly mean. There was this part where Alyssa was talking about how she was feeling insecure, and I Think Before You Sleep was like, why did you wear that? If you're so insecure about your legs and about your stomach, then why are you wearing a dress that is see-through around the stomach and that has a slit up the side? Of course, if you are insecure about those body parts, why would you dress in a way that highlights the very body part that you are insecure about? Which I think is a valid question. Of course, he is a little bit blunt. To Alyssa's credit, she did mention, again, how difficult it is to purchase plus-size clothing, and I think that she said that she had to buy that dress online and that she couldn't try it on beforehand, so maybe that was part of the issue. Again, I don't think that what Think Before You Sleep said was out of line. He was just talking about dressing in a way that highlights your best features and that doesn't draw attention to the features that you are insecure about. It's not like he told you to get invasive plastic surgery, which he did do in another video that he made about a different content creator. So he made this other video about this woman named Juliana who is struggling to find a boyfriend. She introduced herself to a guy that she found attractive, and he wasn't giving her the attention that she wanted, and she was so mad about that.
Because it was so many years of like pent up anger and frustration that I feel like I didn't even get the chance to introduce myself. I didn't even get the chance to like meet them and let them get to know me. I felt like I was cast aside, and I felt like I didn't have any inherent value to men because I wasn't skinny, which is horrible.
It may be the case that it's horrible, but it is reality. So what are you going to do? Live in a fantasy and complain about how you wish the world was different? Or are you going to take reality for what it is and act accordingly to change your undesirable outcomes? One of those is the mentally healthy choice, and the other is not.
She said in this other video that she hates that when she feels rejected by a guy, the first thing that she goes to is, he doesn't like me because of my body, instead of thinking, oh, there could be a number of other reasons why he is not interested. So when it came to Juliana, I agreed that that was an issue, that the first and only thing that your mind goes to when you are rejected is, he doesn't like my body, when the man can be gay, he could be interested in somebody else, still in love with his ex, not interested in a relationship, a number of other things. But Think Before You Sleep was like, of course it's your body. Of course your body is the problem. I mean, well, he didn't say that. That's how I interpreted what he said.
Every single time I get rejected by a man, my first thought is it's because of my body. And I hate that for myself. Like, I skip past all the possibilities of like, oh, he doesn't want a relationship. Oh, he might be in love with his ex. Oh, like, I don't know, he met someone else. For me, it's just like, oh, he thinks I'm cool, but it's just my body that he can't get over.
Yeah. Do you want to date someone you aren't attracted to? Or worse, do you want to be in a relationship with a partner who doesn't actually like you? She doesn't really seem to get that, which is why a giant number of her videos involve her complaining about being single.
And when she was talking about her insecurities with her stomach, he talked about getting a tummy tuck as if that was no big deal at all.
So to fully fix this, she'll probably need some form of plastic surgery like a mini tummy tuck. But this is a very solvable problem. It's not horrendously expensive, and for how much of a massive insecurity this is for her, I'm sure she can find a way to make a few $1,000s. We're only talking about 3 to 4 months of weight loss and maybe 3 months of recovery from surgery. And don't get on me about the plastic surgery. It's one thing to make fun of bad plastic surgery, which is certainly rampant, but nobody is against good plastic surgery because it's not noticeable, and this surgery is not that difficult. Yeah, she might scar, but that can be reduced, and it's better than the alternative. Also, most guys probably won't care about the scar.
Yeah, there is good plastic surgery and bad plastic surgery. You didn't really elaborate on what counts as good or bad plastic surgery. I think it's bad plastic surgery when you get something for male validation or for female validation, for validation from other people in general. It would especially be a problem if when Juliana introduced herself to a guy and she got the cold shoulder. Imagine if she was like, oh, but I paid thousands of dollars for this invasive surgery. I risked getting infections. I risked all these complications. I did that to be more attractive to you, and you didn't give me the time of day? Hell no. Anyway, like, it doesn't even make sense because if Juliana's goal in getting a boyfriend is to eventually find somebody that she wants to marry and then have children with, after she gets pregnant, her belly's gonna look like that again. I mentioned that there were some things that I disagreed with Illymation. There are some things that I disagree with Think Before You Sleep. But in his videos about Illymation, I pretty much actually sided with him. There are other things that he said in his other videos that I do not side with, but even if he said some things that I felt like, okay, well, maybe he could have, I don't know, handled it with a bit more sensitivity. When it came to Illymation, no, I do not think that what he said counts as a right-wing targeted attack against her, nor does it count as like hate speech or harassment or anything. It's just, hey, you are a person who is very influential and you had some hot takes that I disagree with. Here are my reasons why I disagree with that. And whether you agree with him or not, I think that he should be allowed to say that. Alyssa believes in body neutrality as a way to combat her insecurities and other people's insecurities. I don't have a problem with that until she said, oh, we should apply that same logic to food. Then I was like, oh, hell no. But with Think Before You Sleep, from what I could tell from this video as well as other videos where he's talked about the importance of being attractive and everything, I don't think that he agrees with body neutrality.
Everything is easier when you're more attractive, which is why I always recommend that people strive to be as attractive as they possibly can be. The reason people don't want to do that is because being attractive is a lot of work and requires a lot of discipline. You have to be in shape, you have to have good posture, you have to know what clothes to wear, you have to know how to style your hair.
The internet is a good place where we could have the discussions and hopefully have those discussions honestly, and then we can see where we disagree or things like that. So as mentioned, Alyssa has a lot more negative comments because on Tumblr people asked her, oh my god, have you seen this creeps video about you? And she said that she hadn't seen it, that a friend watched it, and that none of her followers should watch it, but they should report it for cyberbullying without having watched it or knowing what his arguments are. And I think that that's wrong. I understand not wanting to give somebody ad revenue if you believe that they've done something abusive and awful and horrible, but still I do think that you need to evaluate what was said or done and then go from there. And I don't think that it makes sense to tell your followers to act without first evaluating the situation. And since she did that, there's been some backlash against her, but I don't think that it's affected her core audience so much. I think that she'll be fine. And to be honest, I think that a lot of people are on Think Before You Sleep side anyway, and so they're rallying behind him, and I think that his channel is probably going to be fine too. Let me know, what do you think about this situation? Were you familiar with either of these YouTube channels before you watched? I watched The Perks of Being a Fat Kid and the follow-up videos about the fat acceptance cartoon, and woke YouTuber is trying to deplatform me, and I did watch a couple of his other videos that have woke in the title. By the way, he defines what he means by woke, and I was like, oh, well, I wish you had mentioned that in your other videos as well, because sometimes when people say woke as an insult, it's not very clear what they have an issue with. Do they have an issue with left-wingism in general, social justice in general? Because he mentioned that his issue is with people who are in favor of cancel culture, but then there are people who get called woke as an insult when they're not like that. They're not hostile or they're not pro-cancel culture, even if they just put like their pronouns in their bio. That's some woke nonsense. I do kind of wish that that was more defined, what exactly the issue is.
Alyssa from Illymation did not take that criticism well and responded by committing libel when she said to her fans on Tumblr that I organized a targeted harassment campaign against her because I made a video saying, hey, I don't like this thing. This thing you did here is bad. That's not harassment, Alyssa. That's called criticism. Plot twist, the actual harasser was Alyssa, as she called upon her followers to mass flag a video that she didn't even watch. How did she know what the video contained? Well, a friend watched it for her, told her what was in it in a very misleading way, and today we have found that this is that friend.
So since I recorded that last video, Think Before You Sleep released another video where he updates about the friend who told Illymation about what he said, because of course Illymation didn't watch the response video herself. She just relied upon a friend who told her what was in the video. And then he read through some tweets basically saying that this person was arguing in bad faith. I do think that there are some interesting things to be discussed here. He, being Think Before You Sleep, seems to object to this friend, I think his name was Dylan, calling him right-wing, and this whole kind of us versus them narrative, because his audience is going to think that he's a certain type of person if you describe him as right-wing.
Just like I said in the last video, before any of my material has been discussed, the audience has been told that I'm right-wing, I've been associated negatively with dishonest debate lords who will use any tactic to win an argument, and I've been called a fat-phobic misogynist that you need to be angry about. So emotionally, when he says I'm right-wing, they know I'm an outsider who does not belong to their group.
However, I do question, how is that different from calling people woke and then not really defining what issues you have with wokeness? Because you can call something woke and that can mean a certain thing to you, but as I said before, somebody else could have completely different issues with quote-unquote wokeness. So I think that you should define that, and that does make people sound like an outsider and allow your audience to prejudge a person before they get a chance to watch the video. So I don't really think that that's more unfair than what you do, but I believe that I have gone on for enough. I have said my opinion. I'm interested in your opinion. I just want to move on so I can share my opinion in my next video about this Swedish show that I've been watching. Oh boy, we have this character. This guy released CP of this girl's younger brother, and instead of reporting him to the police right away, she was like, how can I benefit from this? Actually, this guy's pretty hot. So she like goes out of her way to cover for this guy on multiple occasions throughout season 2. And then in season 3, now that everybody thinks that she's a disgusting person for siding with this guy, she makes a bunch of sad faces, and the effort that she put into covering for this guy, she's not willing to put in any of the same effort into doing the right thing, into making amends. It's like she's done exactly one thing so far. I'm on episode 5, and then she's like, I've given up. I'm just gonna make a bunch of sad faces until you guys feel sorry for me. Bitch, I will make another video about that. This has gone on way too long. I'm sorry. Okay, bye. Bye.